Thank you so much for joining us, and we're really looking to hearing from you about the Youth Council UK. Over to you.
Hi everyone, it's really lovely to be here. All right, okay, so I'm gonna crack on because actually the important people follow me, so I want to try and give them as much of this time as possible. But I'm just here to talk to you about the Youth Council to the UK. And I know that I was kind of briefly introduced, but quickly, there's a reason I've got grey hair. I've been in youth work for sort of 25 years. I've worked across numerous settings. I've worked in charitable sector, I've worked in voluntary sector, I've worked in local authority. I've even worked in kind of profit-making sector, which is a weird sector to work in when you're a youth worker for sure. And I've spent a lot of time working with different kind of communities, working with LGBT plus young people, working with young people, young care leavers, young people in the care system. And for the last 12 years before I joined MYA, I worked sort of primarily working within the youth prison systems. And sort of leading a national youth charity that delivered youth work to young people in the secure estate. And it was there that I really kind of made the decision that I wanted to go and figure out how we could improve youth voice and influence opportunities for those young people who are often left on the sidelines and not included in decision-making processes. So that's my passion, that's why I'm here. And I'll talk to you about YC UK now. It's our lovely new logo, which we're super excited about, and this was developed as part of the journey, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. But first of all, hopefully you can all see that I've just changed my slide. First of all, what we must do and kind of always acknowledge is the former British Youth Council is the legacy of the Youth Council UK. Youth Council UK, and we must remember that without BYC there would be no Youth Council to the UK. So BYC was established in 1948 at the end of the post-war era, World War II, and lots of different youth voice infrastructure organisations were developed at the same time across Europe. And the reason for that is because there was a real recognition for the fact that actually young people's voices were lost in the war, and there was also a real kind of opportunity for indoctrination and sort of false facts being spread, and we had the rise of the Hitler Youth regime, and so post-war people came together and said, you know what, actually we need to make sure that young people have access to education and information and are empowered to also be involved in kind of decision making that really does affect them. And I think probably from the young people that I speak to nowadays, they would say that we're probably not too far away from that again, right? So we've kind of come 360, we made some progression. So there's still lots of work for us to do in this space. And that's why I'm super excited about YC UK. So BYC, as I said, established in 1948 and unfortunately closed its doors in 2024 due to financial difficulties, and that was really due to loss of huge funding streams such as the Erasmus Plus. It lost its government funding. It had some huge funding streams sort of from the Funders Collective, Paul Hamlin, that was coming to an end, and then even their corporate partners were entering administration themselves, such as the Body Shop. And all of that happened in a very short space of time. And for a third sector organisation, that's a really difficult barrier to overcome. So what MYA did was they stepped in and picked up the remaining assets. After all of the debt was paid off, they picked up the remaining assets, which was largely the UK young ambassadors, which I'll briefly talk about later, and then some of that kind of legacy work and making sure that we kept young people's voices at the centre of this. So I was asked by MYA to take a 9-month sabbatical, go out, do a review of BYC, speak to lots of different stakeholders, find out what happened, what their experiences were, and then publish a report, write a report which had a set of recommendations in it, and that report was called What the Future Holds. And it had kind of 9 clear, distinct recommendations in there about learning from the past and being innovative and thinking about the future. And yeah, I mean, I people were bored of seeing me then. They're probably getting to the same space now, but I was going everywhere to try and find out what happened and how we can learn from that. Now, to make those recommendations a reality, we pulled together some young people into a youth advisory board. Those young people are on the screen now, and they were young people from across the UK that came together with a team from MYA and a team of professionals external to MYA to kind of start thinking about, well, what does the future look like for a new BYC? And that's when they went through a whole journey of looking at rebranding and coming up with the new logo and thinking about what does Youth Voice and a youth council to the UK look like in 2026, because actually that's probably very different to what it would have looked like in 1948. And you know, if you just think about digital innovation alone, we're kind of leaps and bounds in a different place to where we were then. So let's think creatively, innovatively, and build something that we would call contemporary, something that really fits where we are now in the world. And these young people are unbelievable. They blew me away at every stage, totally inspirational. And yeah, it was an honour to work alongside them. So this was the journey that the young people and the rest of us went with. So as I said there, in 2024, the British Youth Council closed. I then was sort of asked to go and do this review of what happened. We published that report, and then MYA gave the small team of people that were assigned to working on this £100,000 to kind of try and actualise, bring out the recommendations from the report and make them a reality and move them forward. In 2025, our membership opened, and we had our founder membership drive, of which Oxfordshire Youth is one of those. And those founding members were integral to, again, really bringing out Youth Voice, making sure that this body is going to be a body that speaks to its membership and is not just something that creates. It's like we're asking the members to build the shoe, we're not giving the members the shoe to put on, if you know what I mean, in that space. So we're, you know, this is really integral that everybody's in this together. We kind of facilitated our first founding member network session, which was great, and we had those organisations come together and go, right, okay, yeah, this is what we need for Youth Voice. This is what our local areas need. This is the kind of resource that we think we're missing, the strategic kind of direction that we think we're missing. And we think that a new Youth Council to the UK can really fill this space and help us as we move forward. And then early this year, we had our board elections. And that was a process where membership organisations nominated young people to stand for the vacant seats, which are 19 seats, and that meant that now we have 19 elected young people to the board of YC UK, and they are also waiting to elect 8 support members, so professionals from the sector and maybe outside the sector who are going to help and sit and safeguard them in this space, because that was some learning from BYC days. Having a entirely youth-led trustee board is not a very safe space for young people to exist and to learn. And you know, there's lots of stuff out there, lots of great research, especially Josh Harshnett from Barnardos has done some great work around what does co-production actually really mean. Is it just giving everything, all the decision making, all the power, everything to young people, regardless of what that risk might actually pose? Or is it actually us thinking a bit more flexibly in that space and having sort of people there to help kind of take away some of that risk as we move through that journey together? So that's the model that the young people went with. So we're waiting for those to come on board. And then the membership now is around 210 organisations. But to give you an idea, at its peak, BYC had just over 300 membership organisations. At the time that BYC did close its doors, it was about 130 organisations. So, you know, we're on a journey and we're heading in the right way. Founding members were given the opportunity, as I said, to come in and build and shape what the full offer is going to look like. Founding members were then involved in making sure that the vision and the ambition of the Youth Council was aligned with the ethics, the sort of youth work ethics and youth voice and influence ethics that kind of drive our practice. And, you know, they're integral to making sure that this Youth Council to the UK actually says what it does. It says on the tin. And here is our Youth Executive Board. And I think somebody might recognise themselves on this call. Hi, Katie. But these are the 19 amazing, inspirational young people who are going to be driving forward YC UK. So they are going to be helping shape the activity, pull together the new strategy, work with the members, work with young people to collaborate and bring together collective ambition in this space. We've got young people that represent the whole of the UK here, and also have, I think, Katie, it was really interesting when you had your first kind of induction session the other day. I found it really interesting to see how individually everybody had their own experiences and expertise that they were bringing to the table. Some people coming from different elements and different communities saying, I'm here for the collective, but I also bring this voice, which is amazing. And that's exactly what we need. One of the criticisms of BYC towards the end, and this isn't a negative on BYC, but I think in general across the UK, is that organisations that claim to be UK wide tend to fall into an England-centric space. And actually, we need to get that right in this instance. We need to make sure that we've got that real shared ownership. This is a members-owned organisation, and whatever those thematic areas are that the council is going to focus on, they're going to be relevant across the UK, not just for England. So I hope you're ready, Casey, because I don't think there's going to be much less of. This is an exciting time. I tried to explain this to somebody the other day about YC UK. So I don't know if any of you watch Wallace and Gromit, but there's a scene in Wallace and Gromit where Gromit's on a train, a toy train, and he's building the track as the train's going along at high speed. And he's just about, you know, keeping up with himself, but it's amazing because he's getting to where he wants to go to, right? And that's kind of how I see YC UK at the moment. The train is actually on the tracks and it's moving forward at pace because there's a real need for it. But we also have to build that track as we go, which is scary and exciting at the same time. The vision that the Youth Advisory Group at the very beginning built is set out on this slide here. It's now up to the executive board to decide if that is fit for purpose or if they want to do work on developing that, and then using that to help build the next strategy for the next couple of years. Can't really, I know Katie's already spoken about Youth Matters, but there's some really key things that are pertinent right now that YC UK speaks to, and Youth Matters is definitely one of those. So you think about the 10-point strategy from the youth strategy, the actions 9 and 10 in that really speak and align to what YC UK is all about. And Katie recognised that. I heard it mention NYA and YC UK and when she was talking to you all earlier. It's about localised change making, social action, making decisions at your local level, but then also bringing those localised voices together to really elevate that at a national level and create national change and policy making. So it's it truly is, I know people kind of hear this, but it's bottom up and top down, and it's going to work. I have no doubt about this. You know, the more we focus in on the local, the more we're going to meet the needs of our young people. So the other thing that's really super exciting is the representation of the People Bill. Now, this bill is obviously, I don't know if you guys have already spoken about it, apologies, but this bill is very exciting because it brings into law the votes at 16 and 17 for young people in the next general election. It's had its 2 readings in Parliament. It's now back with the committee, so they're having their final fiddle around with the wording and where they want this to go. That will then have its 3rd reading in Parliament in June. It will then hopefully go to the House of Lords in September and fingers crossed get signs off in law in November, ready for the general election where young people across the UK should be able to exercise their vote. which is fantastic. I know that Kelly also mentioned about the DSIT social media consultation. Now, just an example of what YC UK can do in this space, we invited DSIT to come, Department of Science, Innovation Technology, something like that. They came to the Youth Council to the UK members meeting. They spoke to our members and said, this is the consultation, please, can you get this out? We want as many young people's voices in this as possible. Fab. That then went out with the members, and then we got an email back from one of our member organisations saying, was at the event, heard that DSIT wanted and very, very keen to have the voices of SEND young people in this consultation. So we took this to our SEND young people groups, and actually the feedback is, this consultation is worthless to SEND young people because it doesn't make any sense. It's not built for them. It's not accessible. So we won't be filling it out, but can you please feed this back to DSIT? So we took that back to DSIT and said, where do you want to go with this? We can organise a meeting between you and that particular organisation. And then potentially we could work collaboratively with members to build something better and more effective in that space. DSIT have come back and said, yes, please, that's exactly what we need to do, and that's how we should be doing it. So I'm just waiting on our member organisation to get back to me, and that's the next step. But that's the power of a collective voice, as people coming together. And what we'll probably do, if the executive board want to do that, is put the call out to the membership and just say, if you are interested in this discussion, and if you have a real investment in this, come along to this session and let's advise the government departments on how best to engage young people, or at least on how to approach that in some way or another. So yeah, that's where we're at now. Tons of stuff happening. It's very exciting. As I said, Oxfordshire, to put my teeth in, youth are members, founding members. But if there are smaller individualised youth governance organisations that want to join up on their own independently, or if you just want to find out a little bit more about YC UK, scan that QR code. It will take you to the website and you can kind of do the digging yourself.